What if you could step inside a 1970s home? Picture wood paneling, shag carpets, and funky that you'll never see again. These iconic items defined the 70s, and today we're bringing them back. Stay with us to relive the bold, quirky, and unforgettable style that made the 70s a decade like no other. Wood paneling in the 1970s, it was all about wood paneling. It may cover one wall, or it might cover the whole entire room. The paneling was often made from plywood or pressured fiberboard that was designed to look like real wood. It usually looked fake, but it went along nicely with the earthy feel that most 70s homes had. Funky wallpaper and textured walls if the walls weren't lined with wood paneling. Then you would probably see some funky wallpaper. There was an assortment of styles to choose from, but they were mainly sporting geometric shapes and bright contrasting colors. Textured walls were also common. They might have been flocked or foiled paper, or possibly just textured plaster. The textures and colors used in the 70s usually made the walls irresistible to the touch. Shag carpeting, if there's one type of flooring that screams the 70s, it would have to be wall-to-wall shag carpeting. This interior design trend was huge and often came in eye-searing colors like bright orange. Not only was this a huge item to see in homes, it was also a huge item to maintain, from vacuuming to raking it just so it would look good. Linoleum floors, kitchen and bathroom floors in the 70s had a distinctive style, and they were by no means plain. Linoleum came in lots of bold patterns and colors, and most households loved them because they were durable and easy to clean. Some patterns featured geometric shapes, while others took inspiration from nature. Stone fireplaces and exposed brick fireplaces were another staple of 70s homes, usually made from rough rock or stones. They would take up the whole wall and really had that hunting lodge or cabin vibe. If you didn't see stone, it was also common to see exposed brick around the fireplace or even as a whole wall. It was almost like people wanted that warehouse feel where they were living. Floral sofas and bold chairs, once your guests made it to the living room, they probably sat on your floral sofa. These were big, bright, and bold, often with daisies or sunflowers on them. What says nature more than sitting in a field of flowers? If the couch wasn't their style, they'd probably pick a solid-colored chair, often in harvest gold, avocado green, or persimmon orange. And let's not forget those round ottomans in the same bold colors. Beanbag chairs were incredibly popular in the 70s. They could be found in living rooms, family rooms, or even basements. Once you got in, you were there to stay because they were so comfy. But when they split open, they certainly made a mess. Classic TVs and TV trays TVs were a staple in living rooms during the 70s, but they weren't flat or hung on the wall like today. These were big, wooden pieces of furniture that your living room was often arranged around. Not only were they for watching your favorite shows, but they also had plenty of room on top for knickknacks and family photos. Speaking of TVs, TV trays were also very popular. They were perfect for your home-cooked meal or TV dinner while you watched your favorite show. Crocheted blankets were a common sight in living rooms. These were often made from scratchy wool, so they weren't the most comfortable for covering up while watching a movie. They were typically found on the back of the couch or on the ottoman. Maybe your grandmother made them. Or perhaps mom picked up a new hobby during the winter while watching TV. These blankets came in all the colors and patterns of the time period, and we loved them for it. You can't mention the 70s without talking about this. Was everywhere, in every home. It was used as potted plant holders, wall hangings, and especially for those iconic owls. Pottery and ceramic decor. Pottery was a staple in 70s homes, going hand in hand with the earthy theme that homes had. These could be ceramic lamps, vases, and more, often picked up as new hobbies by homeowners or from the rise of ceramic artists. Fringe everywhere. Fringe was all over the place in the 1970s. It was on vests, in hairstyles, and it could also be found in many homes. It adorned the top of doorways and was frequently seen at the bottom of lampshades or curtains. Apparently, people in the 1970s just enjoyed adding fringe to everything. Pod chairs and funky lights, there were several unique items found in rec rooms. During the 70s, whether you called them pod chairs, egg chairs, ball chairs, or globe chairs, these seats were cozy and often found in living rooms, bedrooms, or even basements. Funky lights were commonly found nearby, weird little lamps with colored filaments that glowed and lit up the room. Without these lights, the room would have felt much gloomier. Chrome accents. Chrome was everywhere in the 1970s, and it found its way into homes beyond just cars. Chrome accents could be seen on kitchen chair legs, coffee tables, appliances, and even lamps. A little bit of shine was perfectly on trend. Pyrex dishes. Pyrex dishes are still available today, but they're much more plain and clear compared to their 70s counterparts. Back then, people were proud to display their casserole dishes or mixing bowls on the table. No kitchen seemed complete without the glass pendant lights above the table, especially if they were orange. Vinyl tablecloths and fondue pots. Vinyl tablecloths were a must-have on kitchen and dining room tables. They made cleanup a breeze and helped protect the wood table. Now, these seem reserved for picnic tables outside. If you really wanted to impress guests, you brought out the fondue pots. Everyone thought they were great, until someone dropped the cheese in their lap or on the shag carpet. Coffee makers. Long before Keurig machines, people had massive coffee makers that made a whole pot of coffee. These were in every kitchen, and there were several different brands, but Mr. Coffee seemed to be one of the most popular ones. Care for another pot of coffee. Floating stairs. If you had a second floor in your home, you probably had floating stairs. They looked a little dangerous, but were certainly a focal point in 70s home designs. Floating stairs added a sleek and modern feel to the homes of the time. Rattan furniture. Rattan furniture made its way into homes from the patio in the 70s. If you didn't have a peacock chair in your living room, then you probably knew someone who did. Telephones. Phones in the 70s were built to last, and they had some real weight to them. They couldn't do what cell phones can now, but they definitely served their purpose for talking. Push-button phones became available in 1963, but since they were made to last, you probably still had rotary phones in your home. If you had a push-button phone, you were definitely embracing the future. Alarm clocks. Alarm clocks were a necessary item to have in the 1970s, and people were starting to get fancy with them. Do you remember alarm clocks with numbers that flipped? They made a cool clicking sound and often came in popular 70s colors or fake wood veneer. They were a must-have to wake you up in time for school, work, or those weekend adventures. Kitchen appliances. The kitchen appliances of today come in white, black, or stainless steel. But in the 70s, we had different options, like yellow or green. These appliances are long gone now, but probably not because they broke down. By the 80s, people just wanted these colors gone completely. Super 8 film and slide projectors. Taking vacations in the 70s was a big deal, and many of these moments were captured on Super 8 film or slides. Family or neighbors would gather around for the big show, watching slides projected on the screen. You certainly don't see these projectors or screens anymore. Home stereos. Home stereos were a common sight in living rooms during the 70s. The receiver might be placed on top of the television, or it might have its own piece of furniture to hold it up. Record player. Stereo cabinets were the preferred option, since they could hold all your records and coveted 8-tracks. Speakers were often found on the floor on each side of the stereo or TV, and they were frequently covered in faux wood grain. Vinyl records and 8-tracks. Vinyl records peaked in the 1970s, especially with concept albums like the Eagles' Hotel California. The album covers themselves were works of art, something that seems to be lost today. Surprisingly, records seem to be making a comeback, but one thing that doesn't seem to be returning is 8-tracks. Back then, everyone wanted an 8-track player in the home and in the car. They were easy to stow away. But it was annoying when your song was cut off as it switched to the next track. Colonial furniture. Colonial furniture made a comeback in the 70s, perhaps due to the bicentennial celebrations. Many homes had these pieces in their living rooms, bedrooms, and other areas, giving a classic, historical look to the homes. I hope this stroll down memory lane through the 1970s brought back some fun memories. That decade truly had a unique style, and it was a time like no other. What were some of the items or moments that stand out from your home in the 70s? We'd love to hear about them in the comments. Thanks for watching, and as always, we appreciate you joining us on this trip through time.